Hi there, and good afternoon. I'm John.
I'm Zen. And I'm Julie.
We're with cNation, and you are tuned in to the 50 Days of Cannabis podcast, where we examine the cannabis laws in each of the 50 states.
Oh, well, hold on, John. You missed one.
I did. The District of Columbia is also included in this. We just thought 50 days sounded a little better than 51.
Today we're looking at the cannabis laws in Pennsylvania. The Keystone State has decriminalized the possession of small amounts of cannabis for personal use. Well, what's personal use?
Personal use has been legally defined in states with cannabis laws as small amounts of cannabis that are reasonable for a person to have in their possession. So Pennsylvania has defined personal use as 30 grams or less, a little more than a zip.
Well, what's a zip?
Here I go with my street slang. A zip is a zip is an ounce. So 30 grams is a little bit more than an ounce in Pennsylvania. It's a misdemeanor charge punishable by up to 30 days in jail and comes with a fairly stiff fine of $500. But anything over 30 grams gets you 1 year in jail and a maximum fine of $5,000. So I've got this small amount of cannabis in my possession. What am I going to do to partake of that cannabis, Julie?
You're going to need paraphernalia.
Right?
So add this, if you have the possession and with paraphernalia, you're adding onto your possession charges, you're adding a 1 year to that for possession. So just a pipe, you're adding 1 year to that sentence as well. Misdemeanor and a $2,500 fine. So if you have a pipe or a bong and stuff like that.
Paraphernalia is illegal in Pennsylvania?
It is illegal unless you're a medical patient. So a medical patient can have a vape or liquid extract, stuff like that if you're a medical patient.
That's a good thought about medical. And for those of you that are saying, hold the phone here, there's no medical program in Pennsylvania, there actually is. It's a pretty new program in Pennsylvania. It was put into law in April of 2016, but from that point in time until now they've basically just been putting their laws together, their regulatory, and of course their licensing. And just this past week in Pennsylvania, they approved their first medical cultivation licenses. So we're just getting a real handle here at cNation on the medical program in Pennsylvania, but it's an extract-only program, high CBD oils and extracts, pills even, low THC, so strictly medical. There's no whole plant use. There's no psychoactive ingredient, THC, in their allowable products here. And it looks like it's going to be good for roughly 17 different ailments and diseases. They're generous in allowing a 30-day supply on this. We think it ought to be a little more robust program with patients being able to grow. But hey, it's a start, and we're glad to see Pennsylvania with a medical program on their books.
So all of these charges are misdemeanors. Are there any felonies in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, sadly there are, and they're pretty serious. I suppose it's pretty good news that there are some misdemeanor laws on their books. Of course, we'd like to see no laws on their books regarding cannabis, but if they're all felonies, that's pretty terrible. But there are some serious felonies in Pennsylvania, and most of them deal with cultivation and distribution. Along the lines of distribution, let's call it now with a medical program, we have to reference the unlicensed sale of cannabis in Pennsylvania. Any amount in Pennsylvania is a felony. And they're pretty serious about the unlicensed sale of cannabis in Pennsylvania. It can ring you up for as long as 10 years in prison.
Ouch.
And some pretty serious financial penalties starting at $5,000 and not ending till it climbs all the way to $100,000.
That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of cabbage. There is no question about it. There's also a little distribution law on their books that goes back to this personal amount of cannabis, and it's the free exchange of cannabis, that 30 grams or less. I
So
can
you
give
giving?
you, no, exactly. If I
gonna give me a zip?
decide, I'm going to just give you a zip of reefer, and law enforcement happens to see us do that, or maybe someone runs their mouth about it. Yeah, I get a distribution misdemeanor with a potential jail sentence of up to 30 days and a $500 fine. And guess what you get?
The possession.
A possession charge.
Exactly. That personal amount of possession, that personal amount, 30 grams or less, 30 days in jail, $500 fine, doesn't sound very decriminalized to me.
I would rather you give it to me than sell it, though, because holy cow, the selling penalties are so much worse. They're all felonies.
It's true. I mean, it is the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony, but there is some movement in the state legislature to really turn their decriminalized program into something more reasonable that we see in other states, and that is removing that criminal element, so no more misdemeanor charge, just a civil infraction, and really reducing that financial penalty, in this case from $500 to $100.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's not quite law yet. It's making its way through the various committees in the legislature, but it's been well received, and it is making progress there, and we expect that at some point in the near future that will be a law on the books in Pennsylvania. So we've got all this cannabis in Pennsylvania, big amounts, small amounts, whatever. Where's it coming from, Jules? Is the stork
growers.
bringing it? Oh, the growers.
The growers.
Talk
Tell you about the
cultivation.
growers.
Yeah, do that.
The unlicensed cultivation of any number of plants in Pennsylvania is also a felony charge. Can serve you 1 to 5 years in prison and a max fine of $15,000. Now, can you even get $15,000 off of one plant? I mean, nice if you can.
Right? And maybe if you can, maybe you ought to sell that one plant and bank that money, just in case, your rainy day fund there.
Yep.
But it's good to note the unlicensed
Yes.
cultivation, because of their new medical program. Licensed cultivation for medical purposes is legal in Pennsylvania.
So there is one other thing that I do have to say, is we all agree on, is school zones.
Yep.
Keep in mind, if any of these charges we've talked previously, if you're in a school zone, you get 2 to 4 years added to your sentences, and any charges will be doubled. Fines. Sorry, yes. Correct me on that. Fines will be doubled. So we all agree, don't be in a school zone. Be an adult.
Exactly.
So, but for a more comprehensive look in Pennsylvania, please visit us at cNation.com and click on the state-by-state link.
Remember, you have rights if you're arrested for any cannabis-related reasons. You have the constitutional right to remain silent until your attorney is present. If you don't have an attorney, ask for one. This is Zen.
And Julie.
And John.
With cNation, bringing you a snapshot of the cannabis laws in Pennsylvania. Be safe.
Stay informed.
What they said. The 50 Days of Cannabis podcast is a copyrighted production of the South American Gold Corporation.
We appreciate your likes and shares on social media.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at cNation Channel.